Welcome, everybody, to the second community governance event open call for the SingularityNET community on the loyalty pool allocations. It's February 2nd, and today we're joined by Roger Caboti, Craig White Jr., Eric, Mac Faraday, and myself. Thanks for joining in. I did make some basic slides, mostly for today, my plan is to go over the sway proposals. And if anybody has some additional agenda items, feel free to bring them up. But I figured I would simply get started with the sway platform, since that's where all the discussion is taking place. Let me get that. Yep. There's some new faces. Not sure if I should go into full detail on the background of this whole community governance event. I think I'll stick to a very basic outline. There's a blog post explaining all the background. Basically what it comes down to is during the phase 2 plan, a 5% allocation was reserved for loyalty rewards, and this loyalty pool, the distribution of it is underway, and this is for the year 1 tokens. And today's, and also last week and the coming week, this community governance event is about democratic input into how this pool should be allocated. So right now the main requirement of the year 1 distribution is being part of the hard fork snapshot back in May 21. And we get to ideate and also vote on what will happen to the years 2 and onward tokens. Here's a little schedule which does not include, well, the might change as needed. That did happen last week during this call. It was decided to include an additional week of the ideation portal being open. And so basically the January 30th, you can see here, that's extended to February 6th, coming Monday. And then the 2 weeks of discussion, that will shift 2 weeks as well. So the voting remains unchanged, and the February 9th call, a week from now, that will also take place. But yeah, right now you can still submit proposals.
I have a question.
Sure thing.
Is the voting go? I had heard that Cardano voting is supposed to be enabled soon. Is that going to be ready in time for this vote?
It looks like, yes. It's not done right now yet, as we speak, but it looks to be on time. Yes.
Okay, good. I was hoping for that because we're basically voting on tokens that are being minted on Cardano. It doesn't make sense not to allow people on Cardano to vote for it.
Yeah, true. No, it should be ready in time. Absolutely. So yeah, that's right now still 2.5 weeks away, but I'm pretty confident it will be finished and working properly in time. Yeah, let me actually do a temperature check on the background of this community governance event. Like, should I go fully into the background, or are most of you up to date? Anybody completely new to this?
I am, so I would appreciate a little bit of introduction.
Yeah, sure thing. Basically, let's see well, I thought I had the quote from the phase 2 proposal in these slides. Basically, because the phase 2 tokens will be minted over 91 years, the specific allocation of the loyalty rewards included a line mentioning after 1 year of these allocations happening, there will be room for a community vote on this allocation. So yeah, that in itself provides the full background on this whole exercise we're doing. Connected to that, as you can see on the slides, are the goals we have in mind with this loyalty pool. And yeah, it's basically incentivizing the phase 2 network, so participating in that. So incentivizing people to participate on Cardano side of our on the Cardano blockchain side of things. And additionally, to strengthen the HGX utility token. So practically speaking, that would mean increasing total value locked and also the liquidity for platform users. And a third goal would be to grow the community through ongoing incentives to loyal holders. And that's a broad outline of what this pool would need to be used for. Let me check if I've got more background on the slides. Makes me wonder what feel free to ask if you want more specific background.
That's cool.
May I ask another question?
Of course.
I haven't seen it anywhere, but is there any possibility of, like, in future years having a vote to change it again? Because, I mean, it's over 90 years. It doesn't make sense for this one vote to count for an entire 90 years. I mean, the community is going to change over time, and they may want to change the allocation of the loyalty rewards at some point.
Yeah, yeah, good question. This is not formally decided. But it would make sense, like this whole inclusion of the after 1 year, it can be changed by community vote. I think, yeah, the mindset behind that will stay valid. So having this voting round on how it will be used, I think, to me personally at least, it makes perfect sense to at least have a temperature check on how successful this implementation, which will come out of this process, how successful that is, and if it makes sense to keep doing it that way, or perhaps alternatives pop up. But this is not formalized, and I could see it making sense to have as one of the voting questions, like, should we have an additional check-in after 1 year? And yeah, then, you know, that in my mind, it doesn't have to be an actual yearly check-in for 91 years. It could be a bit of overkill, but perhaps we could do like first a check after a year, then after 2 years, then maybe again after 2 years, and then if at some point we realize it doesn't change, then you could go for 5 years. Something like that would make sense to me, at least. All right, then, yeah, let's go over the sway proposals. Loading. There we go. Well, Mac, with you actually being the first to put a proposal there, besides the example proposal, would you perhaps like to explain that yourself?
Explain my proposal?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My proposal just basically says, move the rewards to the Cardano AGIX staking because, well, mainly because the community has changed a lot, and, you know, a lot of people that are currently in the community, possibly a majority, I guess we'll see in the vote, but did not have AGI when the hard fork happened. I mean, that was 2 years ago. We've definitely gotten a lot more community members since then. So, and it doesn't really it doesn't really encourage, more people to join the community if we're only rewarding people that were in the community 2 years ago. It makes more sense to reward anyone who joins the community in some way by showing loyalty. And to me, the staking is a really simple way to prove that someone's loyal. If you lock up your AGIX tokens for a month, you're at least staying loyal for a month, and so you can get loyalty rewards in addition to the staking rewards. I realize that people have brought up that it's not like a lot of loyalty per se, like you're not being loyal for more than a month, but I mean you have to stay loyal if you want to keep getting those rewards. You have to remain staking. If we're judging loyalty by just holding AGIX, other proposals have had ambassador program and other things like that. It basically depends on what someone's definition of what loyalty is and what someone should do in order to earn the loyalty rewards. I think since originally the loyalty rewards were just to reward people for holding AGI when the hard fork happened, then it should be rewarding people who hold AGIX, and allocating them to staking is a really simple and easy way to reward people that continue to hold AGIX without needing like subsequent snapshots and airdrop portals and everything. I mean, it's all contained within the AGIX staking, and it will encourage more people to join the community to get AGIX so they can do the staking. And yeah, to me it seems like the simplest and most obvious solution. So yeah, that's my proposal in a nutshell.
Are you thinking staking on Cardano in that case? Or
Yes, the AGIX staking on Cardano, because the loyalty rewards are all being minted on Cardano and are currently being claimed on Cardano. So, and we already have AGIX staking on Ethereum, and the AGIX staking on Cardano is coming soon. And yeah, it just makes sense to put it in the AGIX Cardano staking.
Fair. Thanks a lot for that explanation. I do have to say this very neatly ticks all the boxes of the mission's goals, incentivizing participation by having people on Cardano, increasing total value locked and liquidity by having people stake, and yeah, as you mentioned, increasing the staking rewards, might entice people to also obtain AGIX. I guess something which just a quick check. There's some proposals on there which are not super clear on whose they are. So I wanted to check on on both Craig and Eric. Is one of the proposals on there from you?
No.
Okay, check. Just making sure before perhaps zooming in a little bit more on recurring question, recurring theme across these proposals, which I like the way this includes new people. Like there's basically, yeah, it's very open. You don't have to have done something 2 years ago. So that's yeah, I really like that. But something which is a bit tricky, and I mean, yeah, in the end, it's what it all comes down to is like, as you mentioned, Mac, like what is the definition of loyalty? And there's some, well, you can see this in the discussion section as well. Some people are wondering, is staking enough to be loyal? For example, Anonymous mentioning that in his or her view, this specific pool should not be allocated to either the staking rewards or to the ambassador program, which was a different proposal. And yeah, so that's connected to what is the definition of loyalty, and should this pool simply, by very definition, only be used for loyalty and not for, well, things like staking or the ambassador program? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
So again, it's a question of what is loyalty. Is it holding AGIX? Is it participating in SingularityNet in some other way? I think that's the main question that people have to answer when they're trying to decide this is, what is a loyal SingularityNet community member, and how do we prove that they've been loyal and then reward that with the tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a proposal which last week Jan gave some broader context. It's his proposal. That's basically taking this to a higher level and saying, well, we could need, or we do need tooling for this. So to basically the proposal is to use a portion of the loyalty rewards pool to invest in creating tooling to then have some automatic measure of proper like a loyalty. I imagine there's some number coming out of that, like a score. There's also, well, the very first thing mentioned there is also it offers ongoing opportunities to define and quantify what loyalty means. And yeah, it's not as clear cut to me personally, and I did provide this as a feedback. In a way, I feel participation is separate from loyalty. And that also relates to, for example, the ambassador program. People are contributing and participating in the ecosystem, which definitely, makes them a separate category of people, like they're active community members. And to me, that's quite different from a loyal token holder. To me, that doesn't imply any participation necessarily.
I do see the value in your proposal, Mac. One thing I'm thinking about now is to what extent it would reward those with a larger amount of AGIX tokens to begin with when it comes to staking, and how that would play out. But also, loyalty is a complicated topic to define.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you were really saying this, but it does bring up the concern that we could be basically rewarding rich people the most, or whales, as we say sometimes, is that basically anyone who has enough money to obtain the most AGIX is going to, get the most loyalty rewards. But as Peter said, I mean, Peter seems to think that, loyalty is defined by token holding and rather than participation. So, yeah, I don't know. It's it's a question. It's probably, it's good that we're going to vote on it. I guess people can decide for themselves what they think is loyalty and what we want to reward and encourage in the community the most.
The exit. Right, we're going the right way.
Welcome, and Fish Tea. Thanks for joining in. If possible, could you please mute yourself when not speaking? That keeps the recording a bit cleaner. Thanks a lot. And welcome. Eric, you wanted to react to that?
No, that was my point, or the thought I had, more than a point about whales in that case. But it's not something that I've made any strong opinions about. But I do think what we talked about in the beginning about voting on perhaps including new voting rounds in a year, 2 years would make sense, especially since, well, how staking isn't not just related to your proposal, Mac, but how staking on Cardano isn't live yet, and just general how AGIX on Cardano is so new at the moment, and to see how that would just evolve in an organic fashion as both Cardano and SingularityNET continue to evolve.
That's a good point, that AGIX is new on Cardano because, once the staking comes in, that will encourage more people to move to Cardano. I see a lot of people in the community saying they haven't moved over yet. They're not interested in yield farming because they have a permanent loss, but they do plan to move their AGIX from Ethereum to Cardano once staking is out. So if the goal is to get people to move to Cardano and begin engaging with that blockchain, since that's basically where we're developing now, it makes sense to encourage people to move there. But I mean, that can be accomplished without putting loyalty rewards in the staking, since the staking already has its own tokens. But I mean, it's not a problem if there's not a lot of activity on Cardano yet, because the point is to encourage that activity and move the community more towards that blockchain.
Well, something I would like to call out here is a comment or even a concern on your proposal. Basically mentioning, well, starting off by if we allow ourselves to change the very definition of the word loyal after a vote in a past event has happened, then why have any loyal event at all? I personally don't really agree with that. I don't think we should get stuck in for the next 91 years having one definition. And also the phase 2 proposal itself allows for this potentially changing. So yeah, I do think it's fine to by democratic vote to change what loyalty implies. That's starting off, but an additional point this person made is, let's say you're simply on the Ethereum side of things and you have your tokens since the very beginning of the AGI token, never moved them around, and even, well, in his case, or in his example at least, explaining I'm staking on Ethereum since that became available. So technically that would, to me, qualify as very loyal. And if we would shift the rewards to Cardano staking side of things, yeah, that kind of, I can see where he's coming from, saying that would feel to him like, yeah, taking away the tokens from a person like himself. So there's one thing
that's true.
No, go ahead.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I didn't consider how it would affect the Ethereum staking. I mean, already at this point, people complain that Ethereum staking has very low APY and everything, and it's expensive to withdraw and deposit into it because of gas fees and such. I mean, I think it would be to people's advantage to shift to Cardano because of lower transaction fees, and there'll be more rewards. But I guess I don't know if there's the possibility of adding any extra rewards to the Ethereum side one. Yeah, I don't know.
Theoretically,
But
sure.
as I don't know if this guy is saying that we should still just reward people who had AGI at the hard fork. That I disagree with his definition of the word loyal, because people who were loyal 2 years ago can't be the only people who are loyal. I mean, there's new community members who are loyal in ways, and as time goes by, the group that had AGI at the hard fork is going to become a smaller and smaller percentage of the community as more people join the community. It doesn't make sense to just keep rewarding that small group of people just because they did something years ago, if there's other people that are joining and are being just as loyal, if not more loyal, than those people were back then. I would basically call it nepotism, where you're just favoring someone because you've known them a long time and not favoring anyone new that comes along.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I think including that this governance event in the phase 2 plan is exactly to prevent, getting stuck in a situation forever. So I'm not too worried on that side. It does sound like basically this person is saying, like, don't change anything, simply keep going as we are for year 1. Right. I do have to agree with another comment that there is already an allocation for staking rewards, and so far, while it's not live, it's still, you can do some projections there, and kind of, yeah, what you mentioned on the staking rewards on Ethereum being low. Not even sure if I agree, to be honest, because there's over 10% of the tokens on Ethereum side are locked up, so these numbers also say something. APR wise, it is, relatively low, of course. It's just a whole bunch of people who still think it's worth it, so yeah. All right, let's see. Yeah, Marco mentioning that some calculations could be, and also Christoph mentioning that some calculations would make sense to have a bit of a better expectation, let's say, on what would happen. It's all getting complicated by you never know how many people exactly will stake at any given moment. So yeah, if there's a allocation of like an absolute amount of tokens getting spread over a variable amount of people, yeah, you can make scenarios, but that's about it. You will not know for sure. I did like, I have to say, I did like his addition of potentially including the liquidity pools.
Yeah, I added an addendum. I added an addendum in my proposal. I didn't really say that it should also be added to yield farming, but there could be a separate vote if my proposal were to be chosen. There could be a separate vote to allocate some of it to yield farming, but primarily this proposal is just to allocate it to staking, and later it could be voted to split some of it to yield farming.
Yeah, fair. I'm not sure if on the implementation side of things, how practical it would be. Like, there's multiple DEXs, which then all would need to be implemented, or like it doesn't make sense to favor only one, I don't think.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say that that's a part of the decision of my proposal now. That's something that would have to be worked out later.
Yeah, fair.
if people decided to.
All right. Yeah, cool. I do want to go over some other additional proposals as well. There's one I can be very short about, because unfortunately that's intended for deep funding round 2 instead of this community governance event. So yeah, not gonna put. Yeah, it's simply in the wrong category, so that's pretty straightforward. Then Truth Seeker made a proposal, and basically creating a split in the allocation, and that's quite an interesting idea in my view. Like you can there's the 5% allocation for loyalty rewards, but if you want, this can be split further. And this idea basically is to keep 70% as is, but not having the hard fork snapshot, but a snapshot of 1 year ago. So also including people on Cardano's side of things who held their tokens for a year or longer. And yeah, keeping the staking bonus, which is currently in place of 20%. Keeping the claiming for the claims available for 3 years, that is in place right now. And then basically then, yeah, so 70% reserved for people who held in a private wallet for a year or more. Then the 30 remaining percent, he splits in his proposal into 10% for staking rewards and 20% towards the ambassador program. And I find this very difficult because I'm not completely neutral on the ambassador program, as my Discord background might spoil a little. So that's a bit tricky to me. Like I don't want to. Well, in general, I don't want to push this decision anywhere, especially not towards something which I'm closely involved with. At the same time, yeah, I would be welcoming for more budget. That in itself, yeah, is welcome. But yeah, conceptually, it's going to be very hard to establish in one vote to whether or not to split this 5% allocation into separate sub allocations, and if so, how? Like, I don't see that happening in one round of voting, basically. And any split will have the argument against it that it takes away from the main allocation, whether it's simply keep things as is or use a 1 year ago snapshot instead of the hard fork snapshot. Like it will, every subpool you create will, yeah, take away from that. Anybody, any thoughts on this?
My thought, another negative is splitting it up so much, it can get confusing and complicated for people. It's like I'm not even sure what all he's saying. Or it's like, it sounds like there's an allocation for Ethereum and an allocation for Cardano. Is that what it's saying? Or
yeah.
am I wrong?
This 10% allocation is yeah, the basically intended for as staking rewards.
So is it saying keep 70% for the people who had AGI at the hard fork?
No, keep 70% for people who have of a new to make snapshot of 1 year ago.
So is it just one snapshot a year ago, or do they need to hold for the entire year?
I would imagine, yeah, holding for that he puts it that have held in a private wallet for 1 year or more untouched. So
Okay.
yeah.
I know that's gonna be kind of a nightmare because people will disqualify themselves, and there'll be a lot of people complaining because all I did was move it here for 2 seconds, and then I got disqualified, and then yeah. After living through 2 airdrops, I know how aggravating it can be. So many people not understanding all the rules and then disqualifying themselves and so on and so forth. But yeah, and then it further complicates it by splitting it up into other places. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily say don't do it. I'm just saying that's another problem, is that the more you split things up and the more rules that you add, the more complicated and confusing it is for people, and the more complaints about it being confusing there's going to be.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, if in the things that are proposed are pretty straightforward. Like, for the people not involved with, in this case, with the staking or the ambassador program, they don't. Yeah, there's no effect. Just the total number being based on 70% instead of 100%. So yeah, it wouldn't require additional action, I guess. At the same time, I'm a big fan of keeping things simple. That's also definitely yeah, that's a great thing to have it simple and clear. I do really like the approach of like having I mean, I also included this in the example proposal I made, basically to have a rolling snapshot of, let's check the balance for the past year, and have that be the factor of yeah, what qualifies you as eligible or not.
Is your example one going to be voted on?
I think I should elaborate it a bit more before that's. Yeah, no, I didn't put it in there as to be voted on. And also.
Well, I think another proposal basically says the same thing. I could be wrong. I think it's the one that's called loyalty rewards to loyalty holders. Does that one?
Let's go there right now. It's got a basic, solid basic idea. Who support the project the longest should have the greatest awards. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I feel. It should have nothing to do with staking or ambassadors. It should simply be, yeah, based on token holding. Yeah, so this also introduces like that split, but a very basic split. Basically saying 70%. Sorry, it's just making sure if I now say the numbers correctly. Yes, so for 70% of the total amount, that would go for the hard fork snapshot, and 30% to those who joined after that, with the requirement of holding at least 3 months. That's pretty simple. It allows for new people to join in. It does reserve the bigger portion for the people who are in the snapshot. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, I feel.
I'm not sure I like the 70-30 split. I would have put like 50-50, but yeah. I think it's an okay idea to split them between the hard fork people and the, new people. Yeah, my only problem with that is just the percentage split. I think 50-50 would be better, but
yeah, fair.
other than that, I think it's okay.
Anybody else has some thoughts on this one? Also welcome to Fly Your Fools. Thanks for joining in.
Yo.
Yeah, on this specific one, I did comment like, well, basically what I said. I like how it opens up the pool to new holders, and exact numbers can always be discussed further. Because yeah, to me, like, I think 70-30 can be fine, but then I think I would see this shifting over time. The further we go away from the snapshot, the more room we should have for new people joining in, basically. It's also going to be tricky to capture decision making on that in one round of voting. That's it's going to be very tricky. Yeah, I might have to. Would anybody have some ideas on how to establish these numbers, and if possible? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's even possible in one round of voting.
Maybe, I mean, if this one is chosen, maybe it would be good to start with 70-30, since currently maybe a larger... I mean, if this passes, that probably means that a larger majority of the community are people who held during the hard fork. And then, like we were saying, maybe after a year, or maybe a couple years, we can have another vote, and it could be to change it to 50-50 or something like that. Slowly change it over time according to however the community prefers.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay. Then let's see. We are closing in on the clock a little bit, so I want to make sure I do cover all of the proposals. Well, there's two remaining. Christoph's one is relatively straightforward. As the title kind of says, allocate all loyalty rewards to the ambassador program. And yeah, this is where I'm properly biased. I fully agree with the reasoning on the importance of the ambassador program, and I do see the long-term value, and no questions on that side. I do think it's gonna be tricky to allocate this 5% allocation towards that. I think a lot of people would feel kind of, yeah, losing their rewards for loyalty, which, you know, it completely takes the pool away from loyalty towards participation. Which, yeah, I don't know, increased participation. I'm all for it. No problem there. I do have a hard time seeing this pass the vote personally. And also, for a bit of context, I would like to add also, yeah, in the broader discussion of the whole ambassador program, current funding of that is given by the supervisory council, and it's at 0.5% of the phase 2 tokens. So allocating this or this proposal would effectively increase the budget tenfold, which feels like a lot fold. Like, I'm pretty sure we can, yeah, we can increase budgets and effectively allocate that further and make use of it. But this, yeah, this almost feels like too much to me personally, and I say that with this background. Yeah.
Yeah, probably better would be. I'm glad there is a proposal to split it. The other proposal that we talked about that splits it between like 70% holders, 10% staking, and like 5% ambassador. Maybe those percentages aren't best, but I think giving some allocation to ambassador program would be good. If we could establish a split it between different groups without making things too complicated, I think that would be good. But yeah, I don't think 100% the ambassador program is too good of an idea, because a lot of people won't like that they basically have to figure out how to do a job of some sort, like write an article or whatever, in order to get any loyalty rewards at all. I don't think a lot of people are going to like that.
Yeah. To me, it would make it from loyalty rewards into participation rewards. But yeah, maybe like in a way, if it would be 10% of the loyalty rewards, that would already double the budget of the ambassador program. Which, as for additional context, right now the ambassador program is not touching the limit of its monthly allocation. So, of course, doubling the budget would be great, and it would increase the output. There's no doubt there. It's not a super active current need, I would say. Yeah. This almost makes me wonder if we should somehow include in the voting options, like at the very beginning, simply start off like, should we even split this into things? And then, I mean, if there's a clear no from the token holders, the voting community, then, well, it's pretty straightforward. If there would be support for it, I guess at that point we could start figuring out the numbers, but at the same time, it needs to be practical. Like we can't have like 5 rounds of voting. I mean, we can, but we'll lose interest of a lot of people if we make way too many rounds of voting, getting everything split out.
I'm wondering, how do the rules of the voting work? Like, does one proposal have to get a certain percentage, or is it just whatever gets the highest percentage of votes?
It's not fully determined.
Because if it ends up being split, I mean, there's like 6 some proposals. If it ends up being split pretty evenly, and there's not like a really clear person, like if you're only 1% higher than the others, I mean, that kind of says that, there's not really a big consensus within the community, and then it would make more sense to split it between, the highest, the ones that are voted for the most, if they're all really close in percentage. Like let's say my proposal for staking and the ambassador program both get 30% of the votes, and it's super close. It would make sense then to split it between ambassador program and staking, rather than just choosing staking because I was 1% higher than ambassador program. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a problem. I guess that could be decided after the vote happens. If it's super close, then we could do another vote to decide, should we split it between these, or should we just go with the one that was the highest, even though it was a very slim margin, and then people could decide if they want to just go with that or to split it up.
I like the way you're thinking there. I was just thinking about how your proposal and the all rewards to the original holders are sort of the two opposites, and how 50-50 would be one way to do it. But so for your proposal, it would be the collectivistic way to do it, while the other would be the more individual way to look at it. And I guess maybe the ambassador program or some of the others would be in between. but it would be interesting to not necessarily lock any decision into, say, a 1% difference if it would come down to that outcome.
Yeah, fully agree with that. Best case scenario, we should define this before the vote, so people know what's up beforehand. Makes me inclined to also have a session on that, like an open session, but maybe it could be good to have a bit of structure on that before that, just to make sure that we're not meandering off for hours and hours.
Should we cover the last proposal real quick in the last minute?
Yes. Yeah, that was the one suggesting that in order to make sure that if a token holder would, for whatever unfortunate reason, decease, it's a bit morbid, but that's what this is about, this proposal. It's basically saying like there should be an implementation to ensure that the allocated loyalty rewards would then somehow shift to that person's family or relatives.
Yeah, that one, I think that one's just like a personal responsibility of people, that you need to make sure your family is able, like when you die, I don't know, put your seed phrase in your last will and testament for your relatives to get, and then they can claim your loyalty rewards or whatever. I don't see why SingularityNET should be in charge of. How are we going to even? Most people are pseudonymous in this community. That there's no way to know when someone has died if they just stop posting. So I really don't see how it would be possible to do this at all from our standpoint.
Yeah, I kind of I share that. Yeah. Like in a way, I would say it's personal responsibility to keep track of whatever is connected to your wallet, and then to explain to your family or friends what to do and where to find what. And then there might be room for tooling. At the same time, I'm not really sure if the loyalty allocations, if that's the place to fix this problem. And as he points out, there are some tools in place already, which I think somebody in the comments mentioned that. We already have this. Yeah, okay, that's not the most concrete, but I do think there's tools out there, let's say, in the crypto sphere, which solve this problem. Yeah. So I don't see a full fit personally.
And it's not really allocating loyalty rewards to any place different, is it? Is it just saying keep the loyalty rewards for people from the hard fork, and then just make sure that it's passed on if they die? I guess.
Yeah, accurate.
If that were to be done, it would require there to be some kind of registry with everyone's actual names and contact information, so that we could actually find out when they were deceased, and even then we can't really take control of their wallet without their seed phrase, so I really don't see how this would be possible. And like I said, if they want their relatives to have it when they die, they need to make sure that that happens. It's not something that we can do.
I have to agree. It feels solidly out of scope, pretty much. Yeah, that being said, if there's somebody can make a really nice case for it with arguments I'm currently not seeing, I'm not by definition against it, but I don't think it's within scope. All right. Then by now we did cover all the proposals on the portal. There's, as mentioned, there's still room for more proposals. I think the way you asked about the example proposal, I might actually adjust it a little bit so it could become an. I don't know. I'm also the decision maker on this mission. I shouldn't be having an actual proposal. I think so. Yeah, not gonna do that.
I don't see anything wrong with you having a proposal. I mean, yes, you're on the team, but you're also a community member. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, Estow has had proposals that were basically proposed by their team. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know.
I think some hours about. Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, no. Also, if nothing else, you could have a default proposal, as in leave it as is for 6 months, 1 year, etc.
I think Jan discussed that there would be an option to vote for no change. didn't he?
Okay, yeah, that's felt like it was remembered something like it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we'll include a don't change anything button. That's yeah. So yeah, I guess nobody actually made that proposal so far. You're right, Eric, and I could do that. For that, I wouldn't feel like interfering interests or anything. But like an actual proposed change, yeah, I'll think about it a bit more. 4 more days remaining to solve that puzzle. All right. Yeah, I think that wraps it up for today. So thanks a lot for being here and for sticking here, Eric and Mac, and those watching. You made it to the end, so great stuff. And yeah, short notice for Eric and Mac. If you're not aware, in 3 hours from now there will be a deep funding town hall. So
Okay.
if you want, you're very welcome to.
Is that on Discord or Zoom?
That is on Zoom.
Yeah, where do we access the link for that?
That's on Twitter, on Discord, on. I can DM you if you want.
It won't be on Telegram?
It is on Telegram as well, on the
Oh,
Deep
okay.
Funding channel. And I
Okay.
will make an announcement in the Telegram announcement channel as well, like half an hour before it starts, an hour.
Okay.
Awesome. Then, yeah, thanks again, and thanks all for watching, and hope to see some more proposals on Sway.